And actually, one of the things that people, when they come in, they say, we came in because your video perfectly described what I was experiencing. It didn't matter if the intervention worked at all. It was more that we understood what they were going through.
Hey, smart chiropractors. Welcome to today's show and our featured guest segment. I'm Dr. Jeff Langmead with my co-host, Dr. Jason Deitch. Today, we have an opportunity to sit down with somebody that I met quite a few years ago, haven't chatted with in a while. You might know him as not only a fantastic chiropractor, but the voice of restoring human movement, Dr. Sebastian Gonzalez. Sebastian, thanks for chatting with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure.
It is all our pleasure. And you are a really great content creator. And there's a lot of different ways we can go with this, whether it's social, whether it's the podcast. I want to trace it back to the podcast because I know it's made such an impact on so many docs' lives. When you began restoring human movement, what was the impetus to do so? And what's been the experience as you are well over 250 episodes from what I can see?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually don't remember why I did it to start. I remember I didn't have a lot of things. I didn't have a lot of fancy tech things and so on, but it was, if I recall the context of the first few episodes, it was kind of like case presentation. It's just sharing stories and so on. And I didn't really have an audience or anybody target market or listenership in mind. It was just kind of a brain dump. As I got through like probably the 70-ish to about like 150, I had a lot of interviews with industry leaders and like friends that I thought would have useful information. And they were a little bit more clinical based. And then towards the 200 and latter, then I realized people actually come in from this. And we actually, my last patient came in from this. She heard a podcast topic I had on that particular case that I asked her, how'd you come in? She mentioned the podcast. And she said, well, there's this forum on Facebook that someone posted your podcast. And I thought it was information that I had not heard about this condition before. And so I decided to come in. So the listenership and the idea of it has changed a little bit over the years. And I think that's probably because my interest has changed. I stopped wanting to learn as much, not because I don't like learning, but it's just I had less time. And then I had to get more patients in. So like, you know how it is, ebb and flow of learning and business.
Hey doc, the money is in your list. If you're not utilizing weekly email newsletters to drive reactivations into your practice, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. To schedule a demo and see how we help hundreds of docs do this each and every week, go to thesmartchiropractor.com today. Again, that is thesmartchiropractor.com. Schedule a demo with our team. But right now, we'll get back into this awesome interview on Interviews by the Smart Chiropractor.
Sebastian, I'm watching what you're doing online. You're doing a lot of amazing things. I'm going to ask you a broad question. You can take it however you want to. I'm going to start with a couple of things. One, the name of your practice is Performance Place and Chiropractic. So you lead with the concept of performance, not necessarily leading with chiropractic. And as I look, you've got thousands of followers on Instagram, almost 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. That doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't happen by good luck. It even doesn't happen just because of good looks. It happens because you're doing something valuable that's important to others. I guess my question is, what do you think other doctors need to know about the way you think about these things? You mentioned, patients do show up. It, quote, is worth it, I'm assuming. Help us help other doctors understand, what does it take? What's your thinking? Is it worth it? Do you love it?
I really enjoy doing YouTube, and obviously not everybody's going to. We have a lot of camera equipment. We have a lot of lighting. And actually, I noticed, Jason, your lighting setup is great. Like mine is crap right now, and Jeff's is okay. It's like, so, there's a lot of things that will probably stop docs from doing it. I spoke with one of my interns recently that he's about to graduate, and he said, oh crap, I need to get patients in. I should have been doing YouTube a long time ago. I was like, you don't need to do YouTube. You can do whatever you want. But he said, so over the weekend, can I borrow your camera equipment and do stuff? And I said, sure, you can come in whenever you want. Just clean up after you're done. But like, you got high-end camera equipment. You have all the stuff that you can have at your disposal. And so he asked me to come in. And I said, I'll tell you what, why don't you do the first weekend at your own house with your own phone? Don't even bother with the lighting, just do it. And I showed him one of my old interns videos that we had done a few in office, and I was the videographer for him. They were horrible. They were like, the communication was bad. His verbiage was very technical. Like he was doing weird things with his hands. He wasn't looking at the camera. You know, I said, look, before you waste your time trying to get the videoing perfect and the audio perfect, why don't you just watch yourself on camera and seeing what you're doing? I don't know if you guys are doing the same thing here, but I'm noticing I'm looking at Jeff a little bit. I'm looking at Jason, but I realize the audience is in the camera. And so I should be looking at the camera, right? So there's, probably, if I was to really take this really, really well, I'm going to shut both of you guys down so I can't see you. And I'm just going to look at my computer. So there's a lot of things you learn along the ways, but you really don't know until you start. If I were to venture to say what percentage of new patients coming in from YouTube, I'd say easily 90% of our patients are from YouTube. And they're very good clients. They've tried things on there. Some of the criticism I've gotten, or not, I don't want to say criticism, but people are, number one, sometimes scared to share what they know online because either they'll be criticized, or second is that they think the person will fix themselves. Right? You can't say fix, but quote unquote fix themselves, right? I've done plumbing on my own. I don't know about you guys. I've made disasters out of my own plumbing stuff, but also I've had some successes, right? There's this really cool YouTube channel that if you guys look up, I think he does it very well. He's very friendly looking. I don't know him. It's like Home Repair Reno. And it's this guy, I keep running into his videos on random stuff I'm trying to do at the house. And he makes it look so simple. And then I realize I can't do this, but I would hire him because I know who he is now. I feel like I know the dude. So I guess the easy thing to do is just start and don't worry about what other people think. But fact matter is, I'm sure you guys know, promotion of YouTube videos is another part. It's harder to start now than it was when I started. But I don't think that's a reason to not. And you can try it with other media formats if you want.
Yeah, I think video is a skill like anything else. I think of it like adjusting, right? Your 500th video is hopefully better than your 5th. And same as with the care that you deliver. The first video I did, it looked like I was in a literal interrogation. So I mean, it was like monotone, no personality, really weird lighting. It looked like there could have been a hostage situation going on. But as with anything, you push through and you get better and you build the skill. You've created a lot of content over the years. How do you think about content creation today? Whether that be topic, whether that be how you're utilizing the mediums. How do you think about content creation as a high-level creator?
You know, back in the day, I used to think it would have to be something really unique every single time, but I think that's not necessarily the case. I don't know if you guys do any end range loading, McKenzie work or anything like that. So one example would be like the neck, right? And so like a chin tucks is one thing. So if you do cervical retractions, it may or may not help out people with neck pain. And it's not like I'm trying to give myself an out. It's reality. It doesn't help everybody. One person's medication is somebody else's poison. But let's just put that on its head a little bit now. If I did chin tucks as a video, as an intervention video, by the way, disclaimer, go see your doctor, all that stuff, for upper trap tension, for mid-back pain, for cervical radiculopathy, for tendinopathy of the elbow, which it may or may not be, headaches. Like there's all these different things you could give it for. Again, it's not the right modality or treatment for everything, but for a lot of circumstances, it will work for a lot of people. And you just made, 10 videos of that. And then when you start looking through your videos, the comments, when you eventually get some, you realize someone says, but I have upper trap pain and a headache and my leg hurts too. Does this work for me? Well, I don't know. That's a complicated one, but, I'll make a video on that, So people ask these really, really unique questions. And actually one of the things that people, when they come in, they say, we came in because your video perfectly described what I was experiencing. It didn't matter if the intervention worked at all. It was more that we understood what they were going through.
Let's just make sure the audience is hopefully learning, not just impressed, which they should be, but also learning something along the way. as it relates to creating content, can you sort of lay out how much time it really takes out of your day? I mean, if 90% of your patients are coming from it, obviously it's worth the investment, but is it a lot of time? And also, let's clarify, we're talking about creating content videos that teach people, which is different than advertising or sort of hooking them in with some sort of deep discount offer. Can you clarify both of those?
Yeah, and so I think the first thing is the advertisement. I do think everybody should have in their videos how to reach them, but everyone can smell BS a mile away, and so just make sure that you're being like you need to be a believable person. In regards to how much time it takes to make them, it can take some time. Especially with learning curves of if you're doing your own video editing, if you don't know how to speak in front of people, if you don't know the general flow that you're going to take, it could be kind of challenging. We do so many videos here, and like I've experimented with different formats over the years, but I believe in troubleshooting things, so I'll troubleshoot. And I think I made 30 videos, the last couple months, maybe 15 on 2 days, where I just edit them very similarly and the flow is the same. Like I can tell, like in the beginning, if you look at our recent videos that are coming out now, a lot of them is like, stop doing bird dogs for back pain, which is like, whoa, bird dogs help back pain. It's how you do it. And so there's been some modifications that we give. And so the intro to those is me and my associate doctor on it, Dawn. So we kind of trade off just to make it a little bit more fun. But she says, are you doing these exercises for lower back pain? But it hurts. Stay tuned in this video and we're going to show you how to do them so it doesn't hurt. And then we go to our little flashy performance-based thing, and then we go in and we say, great, now we're going to show the exercise. So what this basically does is when I'm doing the editing process, I can see that there's a bulk where we say something. I know I'm going to drop a B-roll, that like a picture on top of doing this exercise, and it bothers you. And then we're going to chop the other thing in there, and then we get it right into the exercise. So I can see audio gaps. And so I just tell her to pause. Okay, let's go. And because that way I don't have to listen to the whole video. And there's very few ones that we really make mistakes on since we spend a lot of time. So there's not a lot of editing in the middle of the video. So I basically take the beginning, chop it up, and take the middle. And in the end, I put a disclaimer and subtitling if I want to, or certainly how to reach us, phone numbers, things like that. But you can do 15 videos in an hour and a half. Like most YouTube videos, I'd probably say if you stay within the 5-10 minute range, you're probably doing pretty good. But if you don't identify in the very beginning who this is intended for, you'll lose your audience immediately. Literally 15 seconds. If you talk too much in the beginning, they're gone.
Yeah, that's a very practical information. Thank you for breaking that down. We always talk about teach and invite consistently, right? That's our motto within the Smart Chiropractor. Teach, offer something educational, engaging, entertaining, invite. That's your call to action. You afforded yourself the opportunity to do it by teaching, and stay up with the consistency portion. You mentioned something earlier I'd love to dig deeper in. You have vast clinical knowledge, yet you discuss the simplicity of messaging. And a lot of docs have that challenge, especially early on. And I don't mean early on in a career, I mean early on in communication. So what advice, what tips, what information would you give to docs who are deep clinical docs, but that need to really have that understanding that you need to meet your patients where they're at, which is a dramatically different place than when you're at as a clinician? How do you think about it? What would you tell docs as somebody that I respect as deep clinical knowledge?
Well, thanks. I mean, I think you're right. Like they need to, I don't like the term dumb it down, but like use terms they understand. It's not really fair to them. And I don't know if, like I don't know if you guys used to do it, but I'm arguing with them sometimes about like, well, that's it's not your trap. It's a referred symptom, or like don't worry about your hand. It's referred from the neck, But if they keep persisting with, well, they say my hand, like just talk about your hand, because there's going to be times where you say you're seeing it as a neck, and you say your neck. They say, Doc, I'm not here for my neck. I'm here for my hand. And you're like, okay. This is not the hill I want to die on, And so it's just, what do they need to do? They need to do the stuff. Whatever you want them to do, they need to do it. And whatever communication means that you need to do to get there, by all means. I remember one time there was this lady that I don't know if I managed it well. but, and I don't remember all the context, but I remember like, I didn't know what to say. She had, I'm going to say sprained her ankle or something to that degree. It really wasn't that bad, but I needed her to get an image. And I wanted to put her in like a cast, it's like a soft walking boot. And so she didn't understand what I was talking about. And I finally, I said, your ankle's broken. And she said, oh. I said, let's get an x-ray and let's put you in the soft cast and then come back in a week. And like, I walked away from that thinking that's not right. Like, but she wasn't, I don't feel like she was going to comply. So, I mean, that's probably on the further edge that I wouldn't want to say that necessarily again. Maybe I find a better way of saying it, but what I was saying previously was not working. And so, kids, when they get out of school, they are very hung up on, you've spoken to other student doctors for 3 years. Stop talking to them. Like, everybody else in your family doesn't know what the hell you're talking about. And they need to generally understand their problem and understand that you care before you work with them, or else they're not going to comply. So I don't know. I mean, sometimes I think people use big words because they want to feel smarter. And it's not about that. It's about patient care. You know, only you know the reasons why you would use big words, but I think sometimes that's the case. Other times it's they just don't know how to communicate well. So use the terms, mirror the patient. If they're talking about their hand, just talk about their hand. Just not the hell you want to die on. It's a good question. That's a hard one.
Hey, it's Dr. Jason. I just want to take a brief moment and invite you to schedule a demo with our team to learn more about our patient pilot automated email campaigns. They are the smartest way to reactivate the people you've seen over the years in the past. Check it out, schedule a demo. We look forward to helping you help more people, piloting your patients back into your practice. Now back to our show. Yeah. You know, I guess that's like teaching children something. You know, if a child can understand it, hopefully an adult can. That's not always the case. Tell us about the journey of building up almost 100,000 subscribers, which again is a feat that is not easy to do. You mentioned early on compared to now. How long ago did you start? What did you see in the early times? What should people expect, in your opinion, if they're starting now? How do chiropractors understand, this isn't, let me try it out for a few videos and see if it works?
Yeah.
What's your thought in terms of somebody who wants to build something, and really what they should expect in terms of time? Can they do it for a week and see if it works? Or is it, if you stay with it consistently over time, something will happen inevitably if you stay consistent? What's your advice?
I don't know if things will happen over time if they stay consistent. Quite honestly, I feel like there's a possibility that it won't. But if you make it a dual purpose venture, I think people might stick to it a little bit better. My original videos back in, I think, 2009, they were exercise videos of corrective exercises that I wanted to show patients that I did not have time to show them. I said, I want you to do this one bridge exercise. And they said, what is that? And I said, well, I just showed it to you right now. But for you to remember them a little bit more so, here's a video that I did. It's on YouTube. And so those videos did not get a lot of traction. And I actually made some when I was in school, because I think it was when I was at an internship that I was expected to show these things. And so I was trying to basically duplicate myself. You can even see those videos. I don't have a DC after my name. It's just CSCS and my name and so on. So I did them while I was still in school. But there were a couple of videos that were condition-based back in the day that did really, really well. And that's why we started to change focus into that versus just showing an exercise and assuming that it has a purpose for these people, because not everybody does. It will. But if you're specifically giving them to patients, your patients you prescribe the exercise to, that the exercise now has, or that video now has value, even if you don't find anything off YouTube. Back in the day, it was a lot easier. There was gaps in times where I want to say there's like 2 years, 3 years where I maybe did one video a year. Now we do 2 to 3 a week. And it was really during COVID that I was rethinking, as we're in California, they shut everything down for a while. And so I was rethinking, what are the grassroots things that help me build practice? And I said, YouTube videos have always been really easy, and I'm going to double down on it. And so we made a bunch because we had free time. And we continued to do that. And now we just do it on like once a month or so, we try to plan a Saturday, and it helps new patients get introduced to my associate doctor as well, so they're familiarized with her. But yeah, you can't just do it a couple times. It's not going to do anything. I would suggest if you guys are interested in doing it, you just bulk maybe 20 of them, release once a week. You don't have to do twice a week, and schedule them. You can schedule them all on YouTube, and make sure that each exercise is for a specific purpose. Like if you're going to show a bridge, say, have you been dealing with back pain? Try this exercise. Disclaimers, blah, blah, blah. And then how do you feel now? You know, and versus bridge, what do you use it for? Oh, if you have a headache, right? Like they don't know how to use it. So that's maybe one way to go. But the second is you should probably locally advertise. You can surround your office within like, I want to say a mile radius or so, or even certain sections of your city. I want to say right now, it's like 7 to 8 cents a click. And I think you only get charged if it's 15 seconds of viewing or more, I think. And so just spend a little bit of money in your area, start to become familiar with your name. But the YouTube channel it's going to be hard to get your first 100 people in the beginning. So I don't have a really good way to go about that. But I wouldn't spam. I wouldn't buy any views because you'll get banned from YouTube for that.
That's good. That's good practical advice. You got to keep up the consistency. You lead with the education and the teaching. You build on the specificity, and you do it with consistency. I'll say it again. Sebastian, thank you so much. I know we're up against the clock. There's a million ways we could go. We didn't even touch clinical practice, which I view as your absolute forte, but you know so much about marketing, and you're a great example of somebody that's gotten out there, built a great audience by producing great content at scale. The one other thing I want to encourage every doc listening and watching, you do have a premium podcast, Restoring Human Movement, that is clinician focused. We're going to drop those links down below. So if you would like to learn more from Sebastian, you can do so, Restoring Human Movement, and be sure to choose the premium edition because that is for clinicians. Sebastian, thanks so much for chatting with us today. You're awesome. It's been great to learn, and I cannot wait till you hit 250,000 followers.
Can't wait either.
Thank you so much for watching this video on The Smart Chiropractor. To not miss a single thing that's clinically oriented, marketing oriented, or more, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel today.